Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 29th of October, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Winter has arrived.
And Robert Kemp.
Sunday. Floody Sunday.
I mean, arguably, I guess it's not snow, I guess. It is still a lot of rain.
It's just damp, yeah.
But it's not, warm any longer, really. I mean, I guess it's also not actually cold. it's
I'm still not
more like autumn,
keen
I
on the
suppose.
whole spring, autumn. There's just two seasons. It's nice and warm, and then not.
that is pretty much England, isn't it? It's just... Yeah. Aren't we supposed to be the most seasonal? But actually, that's kind of an American thing now, right? Doesn't most places in America kind of have the proper seasons, or is it just?
It really depends. I guess New England is pretty seasonal with but probably not in New Mexico. It's probably basically the same.
Yeah, I think that was the problem everyone had with the last Forza Horizon, right? Because it sort of had seasons, but they're kind of all the same.
On Mexico, yeah,
they're kind of all the same.
Well, after having the seasonal mechanic in the one set in England.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair.
They sort of have it, but it doesn't really do a lot. Or it's not as impactful.
I want to know, what's the date in my canon for the flip over between my summer and winter? Because for me, winter goes to summer when the Masters Golf Tournament is on.
Right.
But I don't know what the flip over the other way is. Maybe it is Halloween. I don't know.
That feels a bit late.
Else.
Yeah,
I mean, this year has been a bit weird.
Yeah, because it got super cold for a few days,
and then it went back to be warm again.
Yeah. And then you can't really forget the fake out that happens early on in the year, and then you go back into winter too, and then you hit Well,
nice. That's why it's the Masters, because that's actually quite late into the year technically.
Well, it's early in the year, right? There's a little.
It's
bit
early, but late in early.
What? Or we could just call it spring.
Yeah. Well, that's what you wanted to avoid, though. You just said you wanted to not have spring.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe the trick is
maybe
the trick is there's actually more seasons than four. As I say, you go to winter, then you get fake spring, and then you get winter two.
Just all the fake out seasons.
Then nice.
I don't think it's fake out seasons. It's just that we just get weird, a week of misplaced season. It's not really a fake out. It's just it just happens at the wrong time for some reason.
But there's always one, right? There's always one. There's always at least one period where it's out of place.
Sure. And
fake season.
That's why you don't. That's why weather does not actually have anything to do with seasons. Seasons are purely just a 3-month period. That's it.
Well, you're supposed to have your white season and your brown season and your yellow season, I guess. And then spring is green. Would we call spring green?
What are you talking about? What color are we talking about?
So I was going I was going in reverse order for some reason. But, so spring is the green season, then I guess summer would be the yellow season, or
right, because all the grass has died because it's too hot.
Yeah, I guess. And then you get the actual brown season, which is autumn, and then it's the white season. That's how it's supposed to be.
It's never white.
Except it's very rarely white here. But or the grey season, I guess. How about that?
Dark blue season.
Dark blue season. The denim season.
Yeah. Now is the time for denim. The time for the shorts is definitely over.
Oh no, yeah, that happened a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Thoroughly endrawed on my drawers. There's drawers in my drawers. There's what etymology corner?
Yeah, I felt that coming.
I don't understand why your trousers or your shorts or whatever can be referred to as your drawers. I don't get that one. Is it because you draw them onto your leg as you pull them up?
No, presumably it's like a drawstring, right? It must be to do with something that keeps them from falling down, right?
Not drawers.
That's how both of those sound like it's too much like a modern word, because I bet it's some even a older ancient word that actually doesn't mean anything like any of the modern words that we use drawers for.
Right.
It's probably some goddamn Viking shit.
Right, because would the term drawstring have been applied to trousers that had one? Or
pantaloons.
would they have even have made those? Would they have thought of like sewing a rope into?
Probably. I think belts have probably existed as long as trousers have, possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah, you could probably make a belt out of, I don't know, fibers.
Yeah,
but it becomes a drawstring when it's actually like sewn in,
true.
right? Like if it's just just external loops, then it's a belt. Like
I don't think.
I don't know about that either.
So then why would they not? If it was named after the drawstring, like why don't we call them belters? Like
maybe we do.
Yeah, maybe that's a dead phrase for it.
Belters.
Let's put my belters on. He's got that belters.
I never actually thought about. I think I've heard the phrase "belt and braces" like a million times. I never really thought about what it actually is meant to mean. But it's obvious. Yeah. I just never even thought about it. It's like redundancy, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't necessarily, depending on your your choice of trouser, I suppose you don't need them. But if you put them on, then your trousers aren't going to fall down.
Got redundancy because if one fails, then you've always got your belt or you've already got your braces.
Yeah, got both.
But the problem is when one brace fails out of two, then it gets weird.
I mean, I guess.
Well, if you've still got the belt at that point, then you can just get rid of the other one.
That's true. Yeah, just ditch the other brace.
That's what people do at like weddings, right? Like if they're wearing trousers with like fancy braces on or something, or an outfit with that, they just take the braces off, right, and just let them hang like one too many belts in a Final Fantasy game.
You're like. It's weird to phrase that as a specific wedding thing.
I don't know.
I think it's just like people wearing fancy clothes who no longer want to, but are still at a place where they're wearing the clothes.
Yeah, I guess.
So start taking off what you can.
Well, it has to be like an event that requires somewhat fancy clothing, but is not formal enough to.
Or it becomes less formal over the period.
Yeah. Like maybe like a work do or something. Like I don't know. I guess I've never dressed that fancy for a work do. Yeah, I don't know many occasions, or like I don't know. I suppose I've been to but in times of yore. I suppose I've been to like I guess the pre-COVID days. It was like a sort of a Christmas party thing where they expected everyone to sort of dress up fancy because it's a fancy occasion. It's like a ball. Put your braces on.
Yeah, I went to a wedding last week, but I didn't have braces. I did go for the belt, though, although I messed up and had the wrong colour belt for my shoes, which is not
you see, I was literally about to ask, is like, do you subscribe to that philosophy where it's like, I have to belt match the shoes?
It's because I got a new belt to replace my, which in itself
is it made of leather? Is it made of leather?
Yes. Leather belt. Yeah, because I get my leather belts from John Lewis. And I always get the same one when it wears out. I just go back and find the plainest, made in Italy John Lewis leather belt in black or brown, whichever one. I don't go in for reversible ones. That's too fancy. Just have two separate belts and choose. If I'd had a reversible one, I could have reversed it, and then it would have been fine.
By that, do they mean they're like black on one side and like brown on the other?
On the other, yeah. And then you can twist them round. But I think that's too.
What if you twist it halfway so you get both?
But then it's like sticking out.
Yeah, then it'd be really uncomfortable.
Yeah, that would not be good. I don't think you can blend them. But anyway, I just wanted to complain because I bought the size, the same size as the before because of previous, just the small or whatever, the same inches or whatever, and it was physically smaller and it didn't fit. And I was like, am I getting fatter? And then I compared it to the previous one, and it's like, nope, this thing that's labeled the same size is definitely significantly smaller. I mean,
it's like
shrinkflation is one thing.
Yeah,
you can't do that when it's a clothing size. So I had to take it back to them, and I was like, here's the old one that's worn out, that's small. Here's the new medium or whatever that I picked off the shelf that's the same size. And here's the new small that I'm returning. It's like physically smaller. Anyway.
I mean, maybe there's a story there. Maybe they realized that the old small was too big by like other belt sizes. Like maybe that was the outlier belt, and they had to correct it.
Or maybe it's like maybe they're no longer using EU sizes, and now it's back to UK sizes.
It's Brexit's fault.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Hey, were we ever using EU sizes for?
You think European Italian sizes would be like smaller, not larger?
Maybe. Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Well, no, if you consider how the obesity problems in the UK have been going, maybe they did need to size it up. Maybe they were like, no, not enough people are buying small any longer. We just moved up the chain slightly.
I don't know. And frankly, like, who needs a smaller... Like, I have notches on, right? So it's not like... Who needs a smaller belt than me as a man, practically? Like,
I have the opposite problem where I have an inordinate number of belts that are now too small.
Yeah.
Like, I have one.
That's the other problem.
I have like one that I can wear. Like, and it's one of those like sort of old, like early 2000s sort of like you wear with like extra baggy trousers kind of belts, but I just put them on my jeans anyway. Sort of fabric-y ones.
And to be fair to John Lewis, they did replace it, even though the medium one was slightly more expensive, presumably because it has more material because of the shrinkflation. Even though I chucked away my receipt stupidly.
That was good of them.
Yeah. So they did actually fix it.
Well, at least they could probably look at it and go, okay, yeah, we did make this.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
that is at least one of ours.
Anyway, it's my belt story. But that meant I had the wrong cut because I was like, I'll wear the new belt to the wedding. And then I had brown shoes with my black belt.
It's one of those things that only people that know that rule are actually going to ever look for. And most of the time it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter,
isn't it? It doesn't really, but no, I don't know. I think it's something that, I don't know, that you don't consciously notice, but it does look a bit weird when people aren't coordinated. Like,
I'm not sure it matters, right? Because if you were wearing brown shoes with a black suit, which you can do, right? Like that's allowed. With like a brown belt, then sort of potentially looks a bit weird. Yeah, like my main suit is like kind of a dark blue, isn't it? Like But if I wore a blue belt that matched the trousers and not the shoes, that would probably be acceptable. It would just all blend in. It would be fine.
I mean, it's all fine.
It's all fine. Wear what you want.
Yeah,
make it pink.
Yeah. I don't think you can get away with saying wear what you want to a wedding in most cases.
I don't know. I've seen some dubious get-ups at some way. In fairness, just like my uncles basically, or one of my uncles in particular, like just rocked up to my wedding with a t-shirt and jeans. So I'm not sure he owns the suit.
Well, sure. I don't think that was like a wear what you want thing. Otherwise, everyone would have done that. It's more like I did not. It was like
I don't know that I specify or we specified anything like that.
It's just a wedding.
Yeah,
there's a dress code normally, isn't there? Like usually you put a dress code on the.
I mean, you need only look at all the photos of Rob's wedding to see what I was wearing and be like, yeah, I don't own proper clothes either. So this is what you're getting.
What were you wearing, Zach? You didn't. You look fairly smart. I seem to remember.
I didn't have a.
Was it a full suit? But it was at least jacket trousers, right?
No. I had a shirt.
You didn't have a jacket. Right?
Oh, you didn't have a jacket?
Shirt and trousers, yeah. But you just look like most people in a summer wedding, which most weddings are, take off their jacket fairly soon.
But
you don't look
definitely made me stand out in the photos.
Yeah.
I did. This is how much I cared. I didn't even remember that.
Well, no, obviously.
You had a jacket.
And weren't you supplied a tie to make them all matching with us?
That was the dress code for Rob.
Yeah.
It was like everyone gets this one tie.
That was the one thing. It's like I don't know. It's some tradition, isn't it? Where it's just the best,
nice.
The best man or the groomsman are supposed to have.
Because I can tell you, I definitely wouldn't have worn a tie if it wasn't required.
Well, yeah, likewise. I'm with you there. I'm not.
It's your wedding.
No,
you look pretty good.
I'm not a tie enthusiast, but it's no. It seemed nice.
I remember you never actually tied your tie for school, right?
Oh, no.
You would just unloosen it every day and then so you only had to tie it once.
I mean,
beginning of the school year.
The few times I did decide to tie up occasions when I had my beard, like you can get away with quite a lot.
It's
under the beard. Yes. It's like I've got the problem, like we've talked about this before on the cast, I think. Well, I've got quite a fat neck compared to the shirt size I require. So getting like shirts with my neck size is a pain in the ass. So I don't often
do different collar sizes though.
Yeah, but then you've got to go a little bit more upmarket with your shirts, right? And often the collar size is actually tied to the rest of the shirt size. Like the two things don't the two things don't scale independently half the time.
They should do, but maybe it's more expensive to
to provide more variance, I guess. It's
probably.
It's one of those things.
Tailoring, isn't it?
Yeah. So most of the time that's not great for me. So the top button is a problem for me on and you're supposed to do your top button up if you tie it up, but if it's under the beard, no one's ever going to know. Like the tie still hangs nicely under the flop of hair you've got going on, unless you turn your head dramatically, and then it's like, revealed. But no one's going to notice.
Well, it's an absolute nightmare if your collar is slightly too small trying to tie up.
Oh yeah,
do the button up is
because then I've had a history of like being quite like that. In the past, once or twice, that's triggered like a claustrophobic response in me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah,
and it's one of the few things that I know do trigger a claustrophobic response. That and the tube.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't
I don't like things near my neck. Like,
well, yeah.
Generally, like, I never used to like it when I had to have makeup put on for like stage, for theatre.
Right.
And people would dab it on my neck, and I'm like, no, I'm going to do that myself because I don't like people
stabbing you in the neck.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a natural response to want to protect your neck. I think it's it's not just the Wu-Tang that want to protect your neck. But, I seem to be particularly sensitive in the Wu-Tang department.
I mean, that's fair. That means you'll just be well aware of like someone coming at you to throttle you. I suppose.
Exactly.
Like more aware of raised hands, in a grabbing nation.
Grabbing nation.
Don't go to the grabbing nation.
Of raised hands in the grabbing nation.
The grabbing nation performs grabbination. This is a podcast about video games.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But we'd still not have
sometimes
every other random bit and section.
I mentioned Forza within like the first 5 minutes. We're doing well.
That's true.
Well, that's what we did last time, but then you need only listen to the last podcast to find out how well that went. After you mentioned fun video games in the first couple of minutes.
Well, have we got some other sections? Have we got I don't know. There's other media section, isn't there?
Yes,
other media section. Yeah.
I saw the Scorsese film on Friday.
Is that what it's called?
The Scorsese film. It's called Killers of the Flower Moon. You heard about this? Have you seen this? You heard about this? It's Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro and someone playing the lead lady who I'd never heard of, who is amazing.
Can't remember her name though.
Can't remember her name, no, because it was in the credits, I guess. But I haven't like looked it up since. It's 3.5 hours long, and apparently some cinemas are breaking the rules and putting like an intermission in, and the people distributing it, like the filmmakers, are really annoyed. They're like, "No, it's supposed to sit there for 3.5 hours."
Yeah,
but to be fair, I didn't feel it. Like it was really. It's a Scorsese film, so it was like really engaging. It didn't drag at all.
It's tricky. I mean, I find that length of movie, I mean, it's good value for money, I guess, but like also the same purpose. Like, I do find that length of movie a bit tricky now.
Definitely. I mean, it really depends. Obviously your circumstances and stuff. Like I took the afternoon off to watch it.
Sure, like the increase from 90 minutes to 2 hours, maybe getting close to 2.5 hours. I could manage that. Like mostly,
this is like a true epic, though, just like Lawrence of Arabia or something like that. It's an epic western.
Right.
It's just a different kind of film, from a normal, I guess.
Sure.
But
I guess they don't make them like that anymore.
Well, I mean,
that's probably most of the time.
Well, that's the idea.
That's probably a good thing.
Typically, the problem that people had with really long movies is just like the cinema can only do like 2 showings a day instead of 3, so they can't make as much money.
It is true. It is irritating.
I mean, you can if it's freaking Infinity War or something, but maybe not if it's Killers of the Flower Moon.
I mean, what is it? Infinity War's pushing 3 hours, isn't it? And the last 2 Avengers films, I guess, were pushing 3 hours. Avatar pushes 3 hours, I think.
Yeah, Avatar was over 3 hours, I think. Avatar 2, anyway.
Yeah.
No, both of them, probably. I think Avatar 2 was maybe slightly longer. That one dragged.
It's because it's like Avatar 2 feels episodic. Like, it's like there are clear points in the story where it's like, well, now we're onto this arc.
Yeah.
should have made an anime.
So,
but then you'd have had a very boring mid-bit about family for like 40 weeks.
Oh, God.
Shonen Avatar.
How so weird. And with Sigourney Weaver playing a 15-year-old or whatever.
That wasn't a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it was
actually,
cool.
In the end, it wasn't actually a problem.
No. I mean, if anyone could do it, I mean, she was pretty good. But yeah, I don't know. Going off on adventures, finding random space whales and bonding with them.
But not space whales.
Well, they're whales in space, but not whales.
They're not in space.
No, they're in an ocean on an alien planet.
They're just alternate whales.
Okay, fine.
Space whales. They're otherworldly whales, not space whales.
There's space whales in Star Wars, though. Although I haven't watched it, and I refuse to. I'm not going to watch.
No, I still haven't watched Ashoka. I will watch it. Is it Ashoka? I don't know.
Ashoka. Ashoka. We meet again, Ashoka. That would be so good if Darth Vader turned up.
No, it just looks. Like, it just suddenly double takes, and it's like a woman.
A woman. Yeah, that's Roger Moore, though.
Oh, shit.
Woman. Yeah. Very, very Roger Moore. Anyway. So, review of Killers of the Flower Moon, very good. I saw The Irishman, which was Scorsese's previous film with De Niro and stuff, and that was on Netflix, and that was really long, but I didn't really like that, even though I like gangster, Goodfellas, obviously, is the classic Scorsese gangster film, and I thought Joe Pesci was really good in The Irishman, but De Niro seemed they used like de-aging stuff in The Irishman. But he just seemed kind of dead behind the eyes. And I don't think it was a good performance, really. Whereas in this, he's really good in this. Like, I think this is the best, because I thought, what's his name? Robert Downey Jr. was really good in Oppenheimer. I don't know if you saw that.
No, still haven't.
It's
got the 3-hour problem.
That's got the 3-hour problem. I thought that was like going to be, because he's a bit of a villain in that. I thought that was going to be the best supporting actor situation. But I think De Niro has pipped him. He's a villain in this, and he's magnetic. Like, so good. I guess his best films are mostly directed by Scorsese, right? Taxi Driver, and again, he's in Goodfellas and stuff. But getting on now. But yeah, what a performance! Really good.
I like him in. I don't know. It's weird because it's almost not acting. But I think my favorite De Niro is Ronin.
Oh yeah,
Ronin's a great film.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that. I don't think.
But I'm almost thinking that's not very. There's not a lot of that. Like, in a weird way, there's probably not a lot of acting in that. He's just kind of very deadpan. Because I guess that's his character. But I don't know. That works for me.
Yeah. Thinking about him being low key and deadpan, he's like that in Jackie Brown, isn't he?
Oh right,
he's like a total bum. Yeah. But yeah, anti his other. He's the opposite of like him in The Godfather Part 2 or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, he was very good. Really.
I'm trying to work out if I've seen a Scorsese film. That sounds mental.
You must have seen Goodfellas.
I haven't.
We should watch that. That's put that on the list. Although we've got to watch all of the Fast and Furious films. So
yes, we do.
Okay, but yeah, Goodfellas is very good. Did you see Wolf of Wall Street or whatever?
No,
I don't. Yeah, I'm not so keen on that one. But yeah,
no, there was very little that appealed to me about the sound of that. Honestly.
And going back to his early classic, I say early, but like Taxi Driver is incredible, right? With De Niro.
I've seen that either.
But that is grim. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so maybe catch up on the classics, but Killers of the Flower Moon, if you've got a spare 4 hours, I definitely recommend it. It's probably the best film of Civil this year, maybe better than Oppenheimer. I don't know.
Better than
similar.
Barbie.
But it's going to be interesting. The Best Picture Oscar. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure there's other good films as well, but anyway, these are the big monsters.
Yeah, I don't really keep up with the film scene like I used to. Not these days. Yeah. Not like like a film critic kind of, like in that sort of way that I perhaps used to once upon a time. I had a hot minute.
Well, I used to have like a film cinema pass.
Yeah, the
didn't you?
Cineworld card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did used to pay attention and be all like, right, what are we seeing? Let's go see this. Let's go see this. Da, 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 da.
Okay. Well,
those days have passed. Now I'm just happy.
I have to add Goodfellas to the list. I've got a short list of very good films to make you watch, and one of them, which you know which one it is.
Here it comes.
Yep. Parasite. You have to watch Parasite. It's the best. That won Best Picture at the Oscars.
It did, yeah.
It was the first ever non-English language film to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Anyway.
Flipping the script quite a lot. Did you see that there trailer for the Scott Pilgrim anime?
I saw a trailer where they replaced Amazon with Netflix because Amazon is the rival of Netflix. So it's no longer what's the website for Amazon.ca. Right?
Oh, right.
Oh, right. I didn't notice that. Because they just sort of went to the dreamscape and they didn't really mention... perhaps I haven't seen that specific trailer.
I don't. Maybe that was just a clip or something, but I was like, that's really dumb. And I get why they did that, but that's kind of annoying.
Are they trying to imply
it also kind of
is...
doesn't make sense from the context of what happens in that.
Yeah, because
he's ordering a package in the
but
film.
in Netflix used to be like Love Film.
I guess. But they didn't use like delivery drivers in the same way as Amazon.
No,
it just making a post.
So it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you going to say about it?
Oh, just it looks rad. That was all. I'm just
sure.
I'm super pumped. It's one of the... I'm trying to work out if it is my favorite film. It probably is my favorite film of all time. That and Spider-Man 1. That's pretty close.
I think I might have changed my mind on what's my favorite film, maybe from Lost in Translation to Rear Window. I think Rear Window is my favorite film.
Ooh.
I've decided. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see I was half expecting you to say Drive, and I'm like, thank God you didn't.
No, Drive isn't my favorite. I like Drive. It's not my favorite film. The disappointing thing about Drive is the actual central car chase is not that good. The opening car chase.
The opening sequence is good. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not so into pretty much any other part of that film other than the opening. The opening's great, but
yeah, I like that. Oscar Isaac is good in that, isn't he?
What is he not good in?
Yeah, he's good in everything. Yeah, that's a good performance. Maybe Star Wars, whatever the fuck it's called. What's it called? The stupid blast.
Is it the second one or the third one?
The third one. What's the worst one? What's it even called?
I don't know. Poe Dameron, you mean?
Yeah. Return of the Palpatines.
God, I can't remember what those films are. There's The Force Awakens, which is the good one, right? And then I can't remember.
Force Awakens, then The Last Jedi, which
right.
I have very mixed feelings about and on balance don't like. And then the terrible one, which I can't remember the name of.
No,
that was the one I definitely can't remember. I remember the other two.
The Sith of the Sifness. Down with the Sifness.
Oh, it's something about Skywalker, isn't it?
Down with the Sifness. Oh, Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, that's a terrible title. Oh, man. I want to call it Down with the Sifness now.
No. You have to replace that with Wookiee noises. I can't even do it.
Oh yeah, because there's that stupid bit where there's a fake out where fucking Chewbacca dies and then he doesn't, and then he isn't dead. Which is, oh god, terrible. Anyway, let's get off that subject because it's the worst.
How long do you think it will be until we get the next trilogy in the current factory of Star Wars that we now have?
It's a good. Well, I think there's a plan. I mean, it depends because I don't think Ahsoka's done that well, but I think there's a plan for the Dave Filoni live action shows to end up in at least one film. So there'll be a Mandalorian / Ahsoka / whatever film.
They'll all come together.
That will all come together. Yeah, that's the plan. But it depends on whether something horribly crashes and burns, right? Because plans change, right? When things don't do as well, like they did with. No one went to see Solo, so they stopped doing those anthology films and stuff like that, and they cancelled the Rogue Squadron film as well, didn't they?
Yeah, which is they're so I hate that about them because they are so knee jerk, and it's like, well, not everything's going to land. That's just how it is. Not everything's going to work.
Yeah.
Not everything could be Loki. You're going to get some secret invasions. It's it's just how it is.
Oh, are you watching season 2? I haven't started.
No, I haven't started yet.
I liked Loki the first season enough.
I thought the first one was great, honestly.
Once I realised 2 or 3 episodes in that it's just Doctor Who, then I started to enjoy it. But with Doctor Who with a much higher budget.
Yeah. And considerably less crap. And this is coming from someone that actually used to like Doctor Who. That like I guess the
early modern,
the David Tennant series, stuff especially.
I like the Christopher Eccleston stuff.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good too. I sort of meant that like the start of this era, I suppose. Of Whoism was great, but then I think I fell off after the Matt Smith stuff. Matt Smith stuff was okay, but it was starting to lose me then.
David Tennant era lasted a while.
The Peter Capaldi stuff should have been great, but it didn't work with me.
Should have been, yeah. Anyway,
I
don't care enough
about
Doctor Who for it to be revived in a good way. I care more about Star Wars, but it's been eroded over a 30-year period to the point where I no longer care about Star Wars. Andor was good though.
Yes, Andor was fantastic. Yes, I'm looking forward to there's one more season of that coming, right? And then presumably they're caught up. So I hope they do that. That'll be fantastic. Or it should be. Let Boba Fett die. Just kill him off. God. Let's just get that done.
They ruined his character.
It was a bad idea. It was a bad idea. It's like they had their Mandalorian. They didn't need to introduce another one or another fake one or whatever. It was a guy that just happens to wear Mandalorian armor. They didn't need to. It's unnecessary.
It could have been cool. I liked when Slave One. I didn't mind his first appearance, right, in The Mandalorian.
Sure.
I thought it was actually quite terrifying when you first saw Slave One because he's a bad guy, right? Yeah, when he was on top of that mountain with the
and he's after
them, and then you see Slave One come in, and it's like Slave One is the shit that took Han Solo away and from Princess Leia and stuff, and
wasn't a very dramatic moment in that film though, really. I'm just going to put you casually in the cargo hold and then fly away. It wasn't like a fight or anything.
This is the thing about Boba
they were
Fett,
fighting to reach them before, and then they just reached the landing pad, and then it flies away.
I kind of feel that way about
see him again.
Boba Fett in general. He's always been conceptually cool, but never actually cool. I don't know. His roles in those first 3 films are almost he doesn't need to be there. He just happens to be a face that you recognize a couple times.
Well, I've said it before, but I think he should be like the bad in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He doesn't say very much, and he's just evil, basically.
Yeah,
but
he's not there. He's not there enough to really make a name for himself, which is which is weird.
I mean, I wouldn't have said in the original Star Wars that he had any. I would have called him neutral. He's just a straight bounty hunter in the most literal way.
Yeah, and he has next to no impact on anything, right? Other than being the courier.
My thing with him is that, maybe no one sees, but there's a lineup of bounty hunters, and Darth Vader is going to hire them, and they're the worst scum. And the naval officers, bounty hunters, we don't need those scum. We can do it ourselves.
But that's that's just pretty much everyone to the Imperials.
Thinks they're scum. And there's a lineup of them, and one of them's an assassin droid, IG-88, and Bosk or whatever is this monstrous lizard. But when Darth Vader's looking at the lineup of the most awful bounty hunters in the galaxy, he specifically says to all of them, I want them alive, and he specifically turns to Boba Fett and says no disintegrations, as if he's got a reputation for disintegrating people.
Well, I don't know about that. That could have just been a one-off. That could have just been the last thing he did.
Yeah, maybe. You're only as good as your last job.
Yeah,
I guess. But I always thought that was establishing his character as he's no disintegrations, and Boba Fett's oh, as you wish.
Is that the one bit of characterization he gets in at all?
Yeah, and then he's the one out of all of them that's clever enough to figure out how they escape, right? By floating away with the rubbish. So he's the one that figures it out.
Although he does have the coolest like space mines?
No, that was his dad.
That was his dad.
Yeah, but he inherited them, right? Because they turn up in Mando, right?
Yeah, he did. He did inherit the space mines. Everyone's favorite sound effect. Or absence of sound.
Love it.
Anyway, Star Wars, Boba Fett. Maybe Star Wars. I don't know. I've had enough thinking about Star Wars for until the next Andor series comes out. I'll just forget about it.
I've said this time and time again. They need to just slow down a bit, guys. Slow down. Concentrate on what makes it good.
Yeah.
Not everything's going to hit. Just calm down. Just calm down. Right.
Watch some Scorsese movies instead. They're pretty good.
The next Skywalker is De Niro. I don't know why.
Right, should we talk about the news?
Yeah, I guess. There's not a lot of news.
What's going on in the world of video games?
Microsoft. They did a partner preview event. They showed a few, which basically is like a little bit like I wouldn't say it's like Nintendo's like indie showcase, but it's basically like things that Microsoft studios themselves aren't making that are coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
There was a couple of reveals there. I wouldn't say anything particularly caught my eye, other than like they're adding basically Animal Crossing into Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. It's like as if those games couldn't get any bigger. This looks like a pretty substantial side game that's just included with it, and it's like
what?
I can't help but think like any other game they would take an idea like that and like spin it off into something else. But
are you sure it's a side game even? Could this just be the main storyline for like a third of the game?
What do you mean maybe. Animal Crossing?
Well,
building a village on an island and then building facilities and whatnot.
Right. So like the game is like set in, or at least the bits that I've seen are like set in Hawaii, right? And
okay.
Is it Hawaii or is it Miami Beach? I don't know. Anyway, some American beach, and like, and you can go.
Probably Hawaii is a bit closer to Japan, isn't it?
So yeah, he gets on in the trailer. He gets on a dolphin and basically rides on a dolphin to this island, and then gets there and basically is like the mayor. You are the mayor of this Don. I can't remember what it's called. The Donko or something. Doko Don, some island. And you're basically then you're rebuilding the island into a nice little town and catching butterflies with your net and making friends and crafting chairs.
So can you walk around your own village like Shenmue style or whatever that you're building?
I guess, yeah.
Open all the drawers and
I don't know if you can open all the drawers. They seem to be going hard. It's like it's. They go reasonably hard on all their side games, but this one feels bigger than what they've done.
Are you building the community in such a way that you can then extort all the local businesses? Or it's a Yakuza village, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it's more likely that it's just going to be everyone's just going to randomly start giving you gifts, because that's also a thing that happens fairly frequently in Yakuza.
Maybe.
Just gift giving for unspecified reasons.
They showed you giving a scientist
favor.
They showed you giving a scientist-looking dude on a sun lounger a tomato. So.
What happens if you give tomatoes to scientists? Do you get better research or something?
He was specifically after a tomato. He might be a botanist. I don't know. And there's a couple in that trailer. There's a couple of characters that have been in the series before, and it's like, oh, they're back. Oh, hey, they're just on this island now. I don't know, man. Like, I think this is just proving that Like a Dragon might secretly be the best game series ever made. Secretly, not so secretly, maybe. I don't know. I'm so hype. I need to catch up.
You're so hyped to build your Animal Crossing village in
about 10 years' time.
Yeah. Dragon. Okay.
by the time I get there.
Yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of games to play until then. I mean, Like a Dragon games.
Yep. Definitely. I don't know. It's just wild what those games have become. Love it. You love to see it. what else is going on? Not a lot, really, other than the only other thing that was sort of blowing up on my Twitter a little bit was this thing that Nintendo are... they really don't get the idea of community engagement at all, because they're now setting like incredibly strict rules for what a tournament of its games can be. They basically don't want you to do any like big money or big ticket items, or so most any large scale tournament that would showcase a Nintendo game has now a strict size limit, meaning most of them can no longer run and can no longer offer the prize pools they used to, and they all have to be Nintendo approved. Otherwise, you can't run it. So I guess that means you couldn't even like go down to your community center or whatever, like in your village, and be like, "Oh, I'm just running a charity like Smash Bros tournament. Can I kind of do this?" And they'd all be like, "Fuck you."
Well, but the thing is about that is that like in that case, you would fit under like most of the size limits or whatever.
Probably, you probably wouldn't have 200 combatants, and you probably wouldn't be charging a $13 registration fee.
And also, like people have said that it's from other companies that have already done this, like Capcom or whatever. It's not usually difficult to get these like licenses. You just pretty much just apply, and they just give you it.
Sure,
but the license is still those restrictions. It's like it's easy to get the license, but you are still technically under all these restrictions.
Yeah, I mean in the Capcom case, I'm sure it's like, okay, I get there's probably a legal interest in knowing how your game is being used, right? So like at them you having to apply for a license to do that kind of makes sense. But like the limits they're applying to this, it basically means like the pro Smash scene is dead, right? Because no one's gonna, or they're trying to kill. Like a number of like organizers have already spoken up and said like, no, we're still gonna run it.
Yeah,
like we'll wait until the lawyers come.
Yeah.
Because I just don't understand why they would do it.
It's the same as like, why did they try and stop Smash being at Evo that one time when they pulled out or tried to pull out at the last minute for no apparent reason?
But why did they do that? Like, I don't follow Nintendo's logic here, or even the lawyer logic or anything. Like
and also, like, to just add to that, it's like, why is this happening now? Even it's like Smash Bros. Is like 3 or 4 years old at this point.
Yeah, like it's going to be a long, long time till we see another one. If we see another one,
yeah.
Well, they will make another one. Just whether or not Sakurai is involved is. In Sakurai news, he's apparently been to like the Japan Mobility Show and is tweeting lots of pictures of cars. So I guess he's a car nut.
Sure,
who knew?
He's an everything nut though. You give him a topic to get involved in, and he'll do that.
Sakurai is an omni nut. Is what we're saying. Other than that, I don't think I've got a great deal of news going on at the moment. It's pretty quiet.
No.
Games are just coming out, I suppose.
Are they though?
I mean, that there, Alan Wake.
Sure.
Alan Wake's reviewing well. Might have to play that.
I know it does look good, and I'm not even a survival horror game, but there are. I'm looking at that.
You're not
game.
even a survival horror game.
I'm not a horror game gamer. Game fan. I missed a word somewhere. I'm not even a big fan of that style of game, but I'm kind of looking at it going, this looks real interesting in the kind of the same way that Control was real interesting, even though that was more of an action game, and had more appeal to me. There is a touch of class to this that is hard to ignore. In everything that I've seen.
And it's nice when people are doing something a bit out there.
Oh, yeah.
But also, so quite tempted by that. Whereas it feels like Spider-Man 2 has maybe played it quite safe. But
but it's still
like
very, very good, right? Like it's another one of those. If that's a derogatory, that's about as derogatory I think as we can get about Spider-Man 2.
I mean, I didn't play Miles Morales, so I'd happily skip straight to.
And I think you can. I think that's it's designed in such a way that that's not a problem. I kind of still want to play Miles Morales.
And with both of these games and we're really seeing like this generation finally. Like I guess God of War is the power of PS5 or whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But these really are, aren't they? Spider-Man 2, and it's definitely.
I know. I'm starting to get the itch. It's like it hadn't really happened to me yet with PS5, but Spider-Man, the last Spider-Man game, Spider-Man 1, I suppose, was the one that got me into PlayStation 4. And I'm feeling a little triggered.
Yeah, sure.
I'm feeling a little triggered by Spider-Man 2.
Well, you can play Alan Wake on Xbox, right?
Well, sure. But it's not coming to any of the, like, pass services.
No.
Because Remedy are doing their own thing on that. They want it to sell.
Yeah, which, fair enough.
I don't think Remedy games have been on any of the services. I can't remember Control coming to Game Pass. I think it might have gone free on Epic at one point, but
I forgot. Oh yeah, I forgot that. I was wondering whether I was just wondering whether to get Alan Wake 2 physically or download it. But then I remember we went to a whole interview with Sam Lake, and you can't get it, which is fine.
And the most awkward moment of that whole thing was someone asking a slightly pissed off question that there isn't a physical version of it. And Sam Lake's like, oh, I don't know, it's not really my decision. I'm not the marketing guys. There's no physical edition of Alan Wake 2. You've got to download it.
Yeah.
Seems like that would have been an easy thing to do, a bullshit, like, here's your big pile of $100 crap, like a branded torch or some shit.
I mean, they're building, like, this whole, they've created the phrase the Remedyverse, like, right, that's now a thing, thanks to Alan Wake and Control.
Right.
And so they're starting to build this universe that people will buy into, because that's what fandom does.
Yeah, but there won't be another connection to this universe for another 5 years or whatever.
Oh, no, not until they make another game, obviously. But it's beginning, right? It's a thing, like, and I don't think there's any sign of them dropping that. Like, unless they do some weird tie-ins with the Max Payne remakes.
Well, maybe they will,
which they might not be allowed.
I mean,
to,
they kind of tied
Rockstar
together,
still
right?
own that.
Yeah, because of the TV shows and all that stuff. It's all linked in some way.
Yeah, who knows whether they'll be allowed to do it, as I say, because of the Rockstar link on that. But
I think it's a fun Easter egg type thing. I don't think they need to be that tightly woven together. Like,
no, I don't think
they're different kinds of games.
Alan Wake and Control make sense as being combined.
Yeah.
They're different types of games, but the fact that the Alan Wake incident is something that the Bureau of Control monitored as one of the weird things they keep track of. Makes total sense. Yeah, it's cool. It is cool.
Yeah, it's like X-Files shit. Yeah,
and then it's nice to get the flip side of that, where it's like, oh, now we actually get to see what, in depth, just one of these events, because almost any one of the events that happen in Control, you could probably make an entire scenario out of, except for maybe the clock basement. I don't know what you do about that. It's cool. It is cool. It's
well,
an interesting.
I'm sorely
game.
Tempted, so I think this is maybe something for us to discuss in a non-spoilery way once we've played a bit.
In the absence of news, shall we talk about the other sort of? Zach and I sort of were talking about it briefly before we came on air, but it's like the slightly contentious opinion that the completionist rose that he thinks Super Mario Bros. Wonder might be Game of the Year. And I'm like,
well, I've played it, and I think it's Game of the Year. So
wait, whoa, roll that back a second. This is the same year as Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, well, I think it's the best. I think it's better than Tears of the Kingdom.
No way.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the best 2D Mario I've played since Super Mario Advance 2, or what's that? Super Mario World? When did that come out? 19. It's the best for 30 years or something.
92.
Anyway,
probably. Yeah, today.
Yeah, it's 10 out of 10. It's incredible.
Okay. I find that baffling. I haven't, admittedly, all I've played is the intro. Yeah, but I truly find that baffling, because I don't know how much innovation they could really be, especially when we had the friggin' Odyssey versus Breath of the Wild fight, and I'd like, outside looking in, Odyssey feels like much the more wondrous game.
Yeah.
Odyssey than Breath of the Wild is better than Odyssey, dude.
But but Wonder doesn't feel better than Odyssey. I don't
than Tears. Well,
no. Yeah, out of those two Marios, my preference would. feels like it would always go Odyssey.
No, I agree.
So if Odyssey is better than Wonder,
ranking,
so if Odyssey is better than Wonder, then how can Wonder be better than Tears? And Tears is better than Breath, but Breath is better. There's like a big old cycle of doom here.
No, it goes. Breath is the best, then Odyssey, then Wonder, and then Tears. That's the.
You think? Oh, interesting. You think Breath's better than Tears?
Well, I would say Breath.
Yeah,
I would say Breath is better than Tears,
that.
but I would have said Tears is better than both the Mario games, of one of which I haven't played.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, that's my ranking. Anyway, Breath at the top, my favorite game ever. I think.
I mean, I'm not unjustifying that. I think.
If we're going to get into that discussion at all, there's a whole heap of like weird like Breath of the Wild, like just on a technical level, is obviously not better than Tears, but it came out before it. It's it's an older game. Yeah. There's a specific time and place that you have to consider in this kind of situation.
To a point, yeah.
Yeah. Although that's I mean, Wonder is a case in point of how that matters less and less and less and less. Like Wonder could have been made.
Well, I'm not even.
On the Wii U, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
when
exactly.
I say technical, I also don't mean like the other reason why Breath of the Wild was better and is better than Tears of the Kingdom is that it was a different Zelda at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Tears of the Kingdom is just a sequel to Breath of the Wild.
But Tears did. I'm not saying I don't like Tears. Tears did. I mean, the Ultra Hand and all the stuff, they did add a lot of innovation and stuff, which I didn't. Which is impressive. But then Wonder does the same thing, and it almost in a more oppressive way is like, well, how do you mix up 2D Mario? It's been perfected like 30 years ago. Like, how the hell do you make that better? And it's like, this is how you do it.
I was not expecting that. Honestly, I'm a bit.
Also, you guys need to finish Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, sure.
Yeah, I'll get back to it.
Need to see it through to the end.
See the actual ending.
Yeah. Got Mario to play first, though.
Well, I mean, that might be quicker to get through.
Yeah, maybe. I'll get through it.
Do you want to?
Although there's some pretty tough stages.
Well, sure.
I mean,
and of course, the ever-present question is is there going to be a whole other world that opens up at the end? I mean, the answer is yes, because that's what Mario does.
World.
I mean,
there will be.
There'll be like the Star Road or whatever.
Yeah,
it seems fairly large. Obviously, not Zelda large, but for a Mario game, it's pretty. There's quite a few worlds that you can see on the world map.
More than
plus
8?
The special area.
I mean, that's the question.
No, I think there is about 8.
I think it is about 8, but there's quite a few stages in each. And then there's a bunch of bonus, so there's normal levels or whatever, and then obviously the boss end levels, but then there's also badge challenges, and break time things like wiggler races and things like that. So there's quite a few different kinds of stuff. It breaks it up quite nicely, and it gives you and the difficulty level is quite mixed, so it's not like a straight difficulty ramp. It has star ratings for difficulty for the stages as you go through, and they do increase in difficulty overall, but there's there's always an easier one, and there's always one that's labeled I'll come back to this one if you're having trouble.
They save the
throughout.
So do they specifically save the I mean, I guess we're into what you've been playing, because you might as well carry on with this. So they do specifically save the harder spikes to the open area bits where which are technically just the branching paths, but they put them in open
exactly areas. I mean, most of them are in the open. They're little open areas. Most of the stages are in little open areas rather than gated.
Oh, I see.
I'd say maybe. Anyway, but there's. It does make you pause and go this is a 4-star one. Okay, I'm gonna have to waste a few. I'm gonna have to use a few lives on this one. Not waste, but use a few lives on this one to get through this one and stuff. The most tricky one I've done so far, because I only played it for 3 days or something, is there's one where the platforms appear on time to the beat, and you have to
classic.
You have to jump on them but the tempo is increasing of the music throughout the level, so you're racing. But so it's quite annoying when you're restarting it, because you're frustrated. You want to get back to the point where you failed last time, but you have to go slowly at first. Otherwise, you go too fast and fall off. So it's like calm down and then try and get to the point. And with that one, that was the first one where I had to like look through the badges and see what could actually make it a bit more easier to do.
I did. Speaking of that restart thing, I did see that Good Vibes Gaming picked up on the fact that little thing, but we've talked about this many times before, that it makes a big difference. Is that the restart time? Like Nintendo seem to have finally learnt that restart time matters, and that
it's pretty fast,
and that it goes back to the start of the level rather than kicking you out to the world map.
Oh yeah,
like the other games did. Like
it's not too bad. It's still a few button presses. You have to press pause. Go down one to restart. Hit OK.
Oh, whatever. I didn't even mean that. I meant like on death. But like that's cool that exists in the first place. Like I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, there's a restart. Yeah,
that's nice
at stage, which is pretty helpful because most stages there's a wonder seed hidden, right, and then you get one at the end. But sometimes you can just tell, oh fuck, I've missed the wonder seed, the hidden one, or what I was there, or I just want to get it. So rather than going to the end and then having to start from the beginning, you can just restart.
Yeah, because that used to be the thing in like these ones that were kind of stage based Mario games, I suppose. Like not even just the new Super Mario Bros, but the 3D world and 3D land ones.
Yeah.
Because they'd have the big gold coin thing.
Yeah.
But you'd go like if you got one and it would be like, oh, it's appeared in slot 2, you'd be like, oh bugger, I've missed the one that's in slot 1, because they always appeared sequentially in the stage.
Yeah. It's very generous. Like there's not that much obviously it's frustrating if it's a hard level, and I'm not that. That's my thing, is I'm not that good at 2D Mario. I never was. It took until playing that Super Mario World for me to really get it, I think. And this feels like playing that, because you guys liked Yoshi's Island and all that stuff, and I wasn't so big on that.
I love it from the outside. It's not one I've actually ended up playing all that much, but I've watched Zach play a fair bit back in the day, and it was I love how that thing looks, and I love how that thing plays out. That's if ever you want a concept to game like delivery, they've done that there.
That's practically not a Mario game almost. It plays so differently.
Yeah, it is different. Because of the egg chucking. The egg chucking's a big deal.
Yeah, all that.
And the crying Mario, I suppose. Love it or hate it. Yeah, I was watching, like, as I say, that good that I mentioned before, Good Vibes Gaming, because they did a sort of like little, like, what has actually changed from the new Super Mario games to Wonder. And it's like, other than like the incredible level of like animation improvement, actually, which is all really subtle, but it's there. And it's like, when someone points it out to you, you're like, oh yeah, no, that's really cool.
Yeah. The attention to detail is just crazy. Like, yeah. And a lot of it like isn't reused. Like obviously a lot of that stuff is used in every level or whatever, or the enemy animation. But sometimes there's like specific stuff for a wonder seed that only appears in one level, like quite a lot. Yeah. And it makes, because there's so many, it's like, how did they come up with all this stuff? Anyway.
Sure, but that's been kind of Mario's thing for a long time, since the new Mario games almost, like, because I would recommend, like, if you like Wonder, I would, like, it's probably not going to be as good, let's be fair, but like New Super Mario Brothers U, which is now available on Switch, like, does that. Like, every stage is almost has a gimmick, right?
The thing it's got me thinking is I should play Tropical Freeze. That's
I've been thinking about that for a long time, because that's supposed to be real good, but
I think that might be the one. If I like this, that might be. I think that has influenced this, you see.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably more than the.
So that is supposed to be real good. But you know what I mean? That's this whole idea of like there's a gimmick, then it only exists for a stage. That's not new to Mario.
No,
sure. I guess maybe they've just gone extreme with that idea here, but and I wonder how many of those are actually, like, in a weird way, just like old ideas repackaged. I mean, there's bound to be a few, right? Like, as you say, like the rhythm thing.
But it's weird because it's not like the new stuff. It's not like every levels are samey and then you get the fancy wonder effect. Like they're really bursting with creative stuff.
Sure.
Even before you find, or even if you don't find the wonder seed thing. Yeah. Anyway. But I just played a level where there are big clouds platforms, but when they rain so heavily that you can swim in the rainstorm and swim up to the cloud. It's so cool. And that'll just be like one level. It's awesome.
I did have like seeing some of the new animations. A bit of me was like, "Oh, hey, if they Mario now runs and moves a little bit like Sonic at times."
Yeah,
there was just elements of it where it's just like, "Oh wait, hang on, they've Sonicified this a little."
I mean, it is the classic thing with the controls which is the same with all 2D Marios as far as I can tell, is where, I don't know about you guys, but I mostly hold down the run button so I can jump
all the time.
faster. So that means that you're jumping using
way higher,
the bottom part of your thumb.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Right where my Celeste callus is.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is definitely 100% still the case. But I guess that's just Mario. But
yeah.
Well, that's not true in the 3D Marios, but in the 2D Marios.
I almost kind of wanted them to have like an always run option, and so I could like hold the button to walk instead. Or I don't know if they have configurable controls now because they didn't.
There is some configuration, but not everything.
Right?
You can change the ground pound.
Moving run to a trigger might be nice, but
yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, there's something you can do. There is a trigger because sometimes. There's the badge effect thing. Some certain ones you trigger using the right trigger.
Is it the trigger?
Right trigger?
Which one, the bumper or the trigger?
Either. You can use either. I think they do the same thing, but you can shake the controller to do the same thing. So sometimes if you want to hold the controller such that your index fingers are like behind the grips rather than on the triggers, you can. That's an option because you can just shake. And also, by the way, the Pro Controller D-pad is pretty good.
Yeah, I've not used
nicely.
I've not used it a lot, but I've used it for a few things, and it's a classic Nintendo D-pad. Feels as you think it should.
And it's in a it's not like it's a nice D-pad, but it's in an awkward place. It actually is. A comfortable
it's good
place. Yeah. And so I'm using that, and then I sometimes switch to the analog stick for like swimming and stuff, and that's quite easy to do because they're right there. But yeah. Happy to report the D-pad's pretty good.
I think I actually ended up playing it when we demoed it both times at EGX. I think I ended up using just the big old stick both times. Didn't even think to try the D-pad. I go back and forth on that. Like there are some times where I like using the D-pad, but sometimes a stick is just more comfortable, even if you don't get the precision. But it's well, that's the thing. You can go back and forth whenever you like. Yeah, exactly. I think I do sort of literally flip flop at a moment's notice when games do that. But it's good.
It's good.
Any noticeable problems with the new voice cast?
Oh, by the way, the key thing that I speculated is 100% correct. You can change the flowers only to Japanese.
Oh, nice.
Which solves that problem.
Well, yeah, I guess. So, well, you're still going to get Wowie Zowie, you know.
Oh, I love Wowie Zowie, though. But yeah, the annoying flower, you can change them to Japanese, and then they're like, nani? And stuff like that instead.
Okay, that might actually be cool.
Which makes them kind of cool.
Non-deska.
Non-deska, exactly.
I just want there to be one Easter egg where it like just goes really quiet for a moment. It's just like a flower appears again in the black screen and just goes Shine.
And they've done a pretty good job in making it not saccharine, right? Which must be quite hard to do when you've got fluffy puff peaks or whatever. You know, it's not too sickly sweet.
Well, is there a cake level?
Probably not yet. Anyway, there was a cake level in Odyssey, though, wasn't there? That was a little bit much. Although you could turn into a huge slab of meat, so that which is fucking awesome.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, that was so good. Yeah.
There aren't many games where you can have a steak form.
Of Super Meat Boy.
Well, I mean, you're permanently steak form, I guess. Yeah.
Meat and Super Meat Boy. Yeah.
Some undefined meat.
Talking of Super Meat Boy, I need to perfect the wall jump. I think I'm coming up to a challenge which I realize is just like that one with the jump to the beat, but this time it's freaking wall jump to the beat.
Right. There was a badge there was a badge challenge we did, right, that added you could do one wall jump that actually let you
That's right.
jump back to the
Go
same wall
up.
you were on. So
it goes upwards.
But you can only do that
badge,
once. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a useful one. The badges aren't massively important. They are helpful for those hard levels to like pick the right one or whatever.
I feel like I've seen some clips of there being like the hat float, right, where it's like
the hat float.
Where if you do the hat float, that you can actually get like lines of like almost like the level was intended for it, because there are like lines of coins where you just float through them all, as opposed to whereas you might not have been able to just jump through them all in one go. So I wonder if there's a slight trial and error nature.
I think there is. I think I've definitely found myself once or twice in a situation where it's like, oh, I wish I had that badge, but I have to restart the level to change the badge.
There's no way of like mid-level changing.
No. So I guess that's one thing. But it does have a thing where you can click like give me the recommended badge, and like some levels it heavily signposts like you should be wearing this badge. Like the underwater levels, it's like you should have the dolphin kick badge because
makes sense.
Makes you go faster underwater, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but then there are the badge challenges
like that.
Yeah, because the badge challenges like introduce you to the badges and also make you good with them or whatever. So you have to use
presumably it just assigns that to you.
Exactly.
Do you feel like that's an area they perhaps could have done more with, like because there's only like one badge challenge per, not even per every badge, right? No, only some of the badges get them, or a portion of the badges get them. And then, do you think they could have done more with like, stages where it's like, no, this is a stage designed for this badge. There's going to be specific challenges.
Well, they are doing that. So, but I haven't got through all of them, so I don't know.
But isn't there like only one for each badge type? Or...
I think there might be more than one.
Okay.
Badge challenge for one badge sometimes. But then you're right. Some badges, it doesn't make sense to have a challenge because it's like there's one that just gives you an automatic super mushroom at the start of the level, which is helpful if you keep dying. But there's no point having a badge challenge for that. But they're in categories. So there's like ones that are action badges, ones that give you some kind of special effect like that one, and then there's like expert ones. I've only got one so far, but they're like that one is like there's a badge challenge associated with it, but it's like spring shoes that make you constantly bounce, and then you can bounce higher. But there's obviously that makes most levels much harder.
Oh, that's quite funny.
Yeah, there's like weird anti-power up badges.
I like that because they perhaps could have if they had built specific stages around like, oh no, you're just going to be doing this. Here's a section where you're being a dumbass for some reason.
Yeah.
Then I guess they probably pull that off with the Wonders.
And I guess you can make your own challenges by wearing the stupid ones for difficult levels and stuff. But yeah,
there's going to be some fun speed runs. Get through the entire game wearing the bounce shoes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, there's some insane already, like Mario speed running is a huge thing, right? Has been for years. So I'm sure there'll be some crazy ones with this one.
Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Anyway, Wonder, recommend it. I think people should play it.
It tells YouTube it's a good game and more people should watch it.
This is a good game.
What else are you doing? Just that? Did you carry on with disco racism?
No, I've just been playing Mario. That's kind of sucked me in, but I will return to wherever the hell that place is.
Scunthorpe.
Especially it feels like, especially now clocks have got back and it's all dark, I think it would be appropriate time for some Disco Elysium. I kind of wish I had it on the console so I could play it on the TV, but I don't know. I think because there's the deluxe edition is on the Switch, but I heard the controls are more awkward than the non-mouse controls.
I mean, I guess there isn't too many menus really to work. You have to work through.
No, no, not really.
I can see it. I mean, I'm sure it's on Xbox and PlayStation as well, right? But
yeah, that's true.
I'm sure it exists in multiple places.
Indeed. Okay, what have you been playing?
Ooh, me?
Yes.
Me? Well, let's
the 13th Duke of Wimborne.
My reputation. Yeah, let's cover the stuff I've mentioned I've been playing before. I continue to play. I've only played a little bit of Forza Motorsport. I'm finding it. I like it. I do. They've made some changes recently as well that were kind of in the news where people weren't happy. I think I mentioned before there was that whole car leveling thing, and that you need to drive a certain period of time with a car in order for you to be able to unlock its upgrades. They've mitigated that somewhat by making the requirements half as large as they used to be. They've literally lowered the level requirements by a factor of 2. So yeah, it takes half as long to unlock everything, which is fine, I guess. That sort of makes sense. They haven't taken it out completely, but it's still there. That's not quite as arduous as it was before. What I didn't realize about that system was it wasn't just that you have to you level up individual cars. So if for some reason you buy multiples of the same car, you have to level up each car in order to unlock the upgrades for it. You don't just keep it for those models, and that's still a thing. And it's that's a slightly weird choice, I guess, if you wanted to make a car and then tune it differently, or have them ready to go at different performance levels for different events. I suppose if you were that hardcore, you actually do have to still spend the time in the car to level it up to build it out in a different way. That's kind of weird, and frustrating, I imagine, for those that play it that much. But yeah, it's I have a really good time while I'm playing it, but I do need to dedicate time to it. That's the thing. The races aren't short. They are endeavors. I guess the last race I did was a 12. Most races are about 12 to 15 minutes. They're not like the Mario Kart 3 minutes and you're done kind of thing. You do need to kind of commit to the time. And the way the structure of the campaign is, it's you really do want to spend the time driving at least the same number of laps as the race, probably in practice mode, before you then go into the race. If you're playing it the semi-hardcore way that I like to play it, I do like spending the time in practice. I do like spending the time learning the car and learning the track, and then taking the assist off, taking the racing line off, so I can drive it without that to get a more realistic experience during the race. I like that process, and I'm doing it every time, and I'm still doing it every time. But that just means my commitment to a single race is at least half an hour. And if I get interrupted, say by baby antics during that time, that can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Honestly, it happened today, and it's of no fault of gnomes or bubbers. It's just these things just happen sometimes where gnome has to do something and be here, you need to you need to deal with this child for a while, and it's
sure.
And it's if I'm in the middle of a practice session, it's right, okay, I need to stop. I can't commit to the next half hour of stuff. At least Forza gives you the option during a practice session of saying, I can restart my practice session, so I can put it in that state and put the Xbox down and be let's just pretend that last 10 minutes didn't happen or whatever. I'll go back and I'll do that again, because I want that flow. I want to be able to drive the practice and then go straight from practice into the race and have that warm up so I drive the race properly. And I am enjoying that process when I can do it. It's just that perhaps the slight awkwardness of my current existence makes that a bit of a bit more of a challenge. But ultimately, I'm not necessarily feeling the draw There's that weird sensation that I talk about all the time of me actually just when I sit down and I've got time to play a game. Like, what do I pick up and play? Most of the time, it's not Forza, and I'm not quite sure why. Because, like as I say, I'm enjoying my time with it. I think it's it is scratching that exact itch that I wanted it to.
Do you think this is just a super slow burn, and you'll be playing it for years?
Yeah,
off and on,
maybe. I think I might return to it quite a lot. Like, I'll have that itch, and I'll be like, yeah, I could do it. I could spin out a few races, and I don't necessarily have to focus on it and get good, and stay good. If you know what I mean, like, because you can spend the time in practice, and you can spend the time regaining some skill, and that skill is going to change a little bit depending on what car you're going to play in that particular race and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you might be right. This might be a long burn for me that I just keep in my back pocket for coming into every now and then. Because the problem is, before I move on, because I was about to segue there, but I'll save that. I don't think it's perfect. I'm enjoying its structure generally, and with my own rules about how I play it, and taking the racing line off it. I kind of wish it did that for me, and that was the flow. That would be really nice. Like if you learn the track with the racing line on, and then on race day you have to take all the assists off. You have to take the training wheels off to actually race. If that flow was built into the game, that would be really great. I would be all over that. Especially online, if that was how online works, that would be great. I've not dabbled in online because it sounds a little bit like just turn the assists on is the strategy. just turn the driving assist on, turn the driving line on. You might as well, because you're not really going to gain from having it off. Just, it's an advantage. So leave it on. And it's like, I don't know that I want to play like that. Even though driving against human opponents might be more interesting than the avatars at times. Do you know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they need to do some work there perhaps to enable that as a way of play, or a lobby of play. But there are spots in that game where I feel like the polish is lacking. Like, I don't know, the cars look great generally. Yeah. The lighting, although as we mentioned earlier, can to some seem a little washed out. It has got that naturalistic look. It's generally nice. The changing track conditions is super cool. It never gets old. I love it. I love that Ridge Racer feeling of driving into the dark. Like, you start off at night and it goes through sunset, and then you end up at a nighttime finish. That is rad. I love the races that start off dry and get thunderous halfway through. So you're having to deal with the changing track conditions into slippier stuff. So you're being more cautious as the race. I love that. I think that is super cool. But then there are other times where you spend a reasonable amount of time, like at the start of races or something, like, your car will be parked up in the pit lane, and it's like, oh, this gives you a chance to have a little look at your car, I guess, as you would, and be like, and admire the visual fidelity. And then you look at the texture of the road it's driving on, and it is god awful. Like, I don't know why. Like, of all the places they thought, there are just some parts of the game where the texturing is terrible. Like, it's weird, and the pit lanes seem to have bad road texture. During the podium sequences, I've noticed the board behind, the drivers that get up, the one that says Forza Motorsport and Xbox, that could be really poor quality. It also, in those moments, it zooms in perhaps on your competitor cars, and it's clear there's some LOD stuff going on, because those competitor cars don't look as good as yours, even though it's giving them a full-on close-up to say, oh, that guy came first, that guy came second, oh, and you came third, that kind of thing. It zooms in on their car for a bit, and you can tell it's not as well rendered as your car is. And sometimes that's the most noticeable thing is the livery, because the livery that it loads onto those cars, which are probably, player made and all that stuff, is of a much lower detail than the livery detail that's applied to your car. Maybe that's a memory limitation, but it's really noticeable. During those sequences. It's fine during the race. I should point out all of this is fine during a race. It's not really a problem, but it's just the moments where the game is trying to where you're looking and rather than playing, that the game falls down a bit. And it's really surprising.
They'd have more power and budget to make those bits look good.
They do, because I'm playing in Performance RT, which runs at 60 FPS during a race, but every other time it's decreasing down to the 30 FPS. That means that decreases down to the 30 FPS visuals mode during those sequences and things. So those effects should turn on. Things should look really good at the cost of half your frames. And still these limitations exist. So it is surprising. It's just a weird little black mark in what is a generally great feeling game and great playing game. But as we talked about in the last podcast, doesn't get anywhere near the level of fidelity they showed off summer last year.
Right, yeah.
There's definitely
slightly overpromised there.
Oh, wildly, yeah. It's a good looking game, and things generally look and sound great, but there are spots. There are definitely things. I don't know if that's just a text to streaming issue, and it just fails to stream in things correctly, or what. And like, if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm not even sure the ray tracing looks all that brilliant, because it's just not sharp enough to really see the fidelity of it. I'm playing in car most of the time, so the 30 FPS cube maps aren't bothering me. But if you're an outside the car player, that's gonna look weird. There's no two ways about it. I don't know. I think the visuals probably need a patch or two.
Do you think that's forthcoming, or?
I don't know. I don't know if they've. I honestly don't know if they've just made those decisions because they need to for performance reasons.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell. I mean, luckily the racing, luckily for them, the racing's compelling. So that's that. But what does end up happen? Let's go back to that segue. Let's roll it back as if I didn't go on a bit of a negative. I didn't do a Rob review. What does happen is I sit down and I think to myself, I've got about an hour. What can I do? I can get 3 matches of Exoprimal in. Because I'm still playing that game. I'm still in.
Okay.
I quite like that game. I quite like it.
Yeah.
I was worried about it. So last time, previously on Rob Plays Exoprimal, I was talking about how was starting to worry a little bit that the variety of what was being presented to me, the mission objectives and what I was doing in game, wasn't as interesting as I had initially hoped. That changes. So, and I think it's tied to the story progression. I've hit a couple of moments in that game where instead of matchmaking into a normal set of missions, I suppose, it matchmakes you into effectively a story scenario where things play out differently, and things happen during the mission, and things get weird and dramatic and cool. And I was like, this is what people have been talking about when they talk about this game. This is why this is good. And those moments are great because it's just that little bit of a shift where you're just like, I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know why. This fit, and it fits with the story, and it all gels together. And it's kind of like what Titanfall, I think, wanted to do, but instead they just made you play radio plays. It's like where nothing really matters. This actually just seamlessly weaves these moments into the game, and you're as I say, you're match made with other players. At first I thought it's like, well, this is never going to work, right? This is like the first time I did it, I got match made into something with loads of bots, and it's like, well, that's weird. That hasn't happened to me yet. And it's like, oh right, this is a story scenario, so it's like, I guess there aren't many players wanting to do this at one time. But then I got to a second one that was even cooler than the first. It's basically a boss fight. It's great. And then what then happened is I got match made into that same mission again later. So the game does match make you back into the story missions if you've done them already. But it presents it in a really cool way. So Leviathan, the AI presence that's running all this weirdness, actually kind of says, this scenario is going to be familiar to you, but I'm running it again to acquire novel data. And they actually weave it in narratively as why you're doing this again. And it works. like I don't mind playing those scenarios again. A, because they were cool, and B, because they actually thought about it, why it might be recurring. It fits with what they've done with the world building and the fact that they've got special voice lines just to highlight that fact. And it's like, but yeah, this is you're going to be used to this. You've done this before, but it's neat. It's really cool. It's really well done. And when I've hit those moments, it's basically unlocked like a new set of missions I can do. So like seamlessly, it doesn't tell you that that's happened. It just kind of like, it's part of the story that Leviathan goes, oh, okay, you're doing better than I think. I need to rethink what I'm doing with the war games. And suddenly you start seeing new objectives in the war games. You start seeing new mission types. Things start getting harder. You start facing dinosaurs you've never seen before. You start facing the Neosaurs, which are weird concoctions that seem to have been come up. Like they're not real dinosaurs. They're things that do stupid stuff, like snipe at you with orbs of purple energy. It's dumb stuff.
Classic dinosaur behavior.
Yeah, it's dumb stuff, but it does start expanding and it does start getting more cool. You've just got to get through, like perhaps to that first story beat, and then it starts expanding, and it's intoxicating. It's great. The story remains super stupid and super dumb and super goofy.
Well,
but
it's Capcom.
Yeah, but it all works. It all ties together. I'm about 50% of the way through, so I want to see this through. I want to see like at the very least see what the rest of the story content is. And I'm not bored of it. It's working. It's working for me.
So you playing with randos, or?
Yeah, I'm just playing with randos. Just matchmaking to anything. I'm not really going in with a team or anything like that. I mean, most of the time that's fine. Every now and then you come across a team of utter morons. That's just going to happen.
Sure.
Every now and then you're going to come across a team where everyone is loaded in as a sniper. And it's like, well, that's not going to help. We're going to do terribly and nobody wants to switch off it. I'm not like that. I switch to whatever we're missing. I'd rather get the variety and play around rather than main something. I don't mind, but it happens. There's a specific mission type that I think players. Well, I hit one mission type that I'd never seen before the other day, and it was clear that nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. Because it was a mission where you actually had to destroy a mechanical thing, which had never come up before. I'd never seen it before. And seemingly no one in the game that I was playing with had seen it before, because nobody was shooting at the thing other than me. And it's like, we've got to destroy this thing, guys. Wait, what are you doing?
You figured it out.
Yeah, I figured it out. No one else did.
You've never done it before.
And it's just like, yeah. So we lost that one real bad. that went sour real fast. Because I seem to be the only one doing the objective. And the other one that I guess is a strat. There's a variant on basically your basic mission in that game is what they call the dinosaur cull, where it's just like destroy a specific set of dinosaurs, like a specific number of specific types, and it will show you at the top of the screen what you've got left to kill. And there's a variant on that where basically the mission is you only have to destroy this one big dinosaur, but that dinosaur decides to run off like after you've done a little bit of damage to it. So, and there's other stuff spawning that you don't need to kill. Then it's not your target, but it's like in the way. And so when this dinosaur runs off, the safe strategy, which is the one where I've had the most success anyway, is to slowly work your way through the waves of dinosaurs coming till you catch up with the target one. Some players don't do that, and they just friggin' charge down the other dino, which doesn't work if the team gets splintered. If you get at all like held back at all or pinned down, then the team is in bits and everyone just dies, and it's not a good look. So I can see how that could work. It just doesn't most of the time. You're trying to do these objectives fast, don't forget, because there's another team doing them and you're trying to beat the other team to do these PvE objectives. So there is an impetus to try and take a shortcut. It's just shortcuts don't often work. Teamwork makes the dream work.
People don't realise that.
I mean, they probably do. They probably just, like, maybe if they team up with their own crew and everybody follows that one guy and charges ahead, then maybe it would work. But if you get stuck or left behind, you're screwed. You're screwed.
Sure.
So there's been a few games like that, but generally it's been a pretty good experience. I've only had 2 matches, I think, where I've had to mute someone because it's been the stereotype where they've had music playing at an incredibly loud volume into their microphone, and it's like, why are you doing that? Why? I need to go into the menu and mute you immediately,
guys.
There was the slightly hilarious one time where someone was listening to hip hop and trying to rap along, which was pretty funny, but but still, he got muted. I really like it. It's a surprise. I love Leviathan as a character as well. He speaks so weirdly. He's like his use of language is pretty cool and pretty fun. After at the start of every game, at some point he pretty much says, "Have a super day," in a sort of and when you win a round or something, he basically congratulates you on acquiring bonus existence. It's so some of the language is great. I love it. Like Leviathan's such a brilliantly written character.
So what's he similar to in terms of evil omniscient AIs?
So,
is he like a GLaDOS type? Is he like a
I don't know. So that's kind of the main mystery of the story is like, why is Leviathan doing this? How did he get where he is?
Who is it? Shodan?
yeah. I don't think they're quite on that level of intelligence in a weird way.
Right.
Like he's basically obsessed with improving he's basically been tasked with improving the Exofighter combat suits that you're wearing. And coincidentally, these are mild spoilers ahead. Coincidentally, at one point, he's given control of these thing called vortexes that are being developed and used for things. But it turns out they can cause space-time distortions. And so I think we're at the point where Leviathan figures out it's like, oh, I can summon dinosaurs using these things. That's going to be an interesting test for that's going to be like the ultimate thing to fight against, right? And as I said, then there's some other sciencey stuff happening that hasn't been explained in the story where you're getting these new impossible dinosaurs turning up and things like that. And there's some other bad guy. So he's like basically the AI, as far as I can tell, is just pretty much obsessed with running these war games to make improvements to the suits, no matter the cost. It's like your classic, you've written a program with no limits and it's just going to push those limits. It's just going to keep going. But he's cool. In that kind of he's clearly in the wrong and he's clearly being evil, but also you can't help but love the way he talks.
You can't help but love him.
You can't help it. He rocks. And he's talking all the time, through matches as well. So it helps that he's good. He's telling you exactly what he's doing.
It'd be annoying if he was
like summoning raptors, summoning gas neosaurs, summoning a T-Rex. And it's like, you have been performing quite well recently. Keep this streak up and acquire data. There's stuff about data. A lot of talk about data. He'll even tell you about the area you're in the middle of a fight, and then until you get to an objective, and then he'll be like, transmission interrupted, and then tell you what you're actually supposed to be doing. Welcome to the Sun Plaza. Here, couples and singles would come and enjoy themselves. Transmission interrupted. Summoning dinosaurs.
Summoning raptors.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's charming. It works. It's a great game.
Nice. You're not going to drag Zach into it then, or?
That might be a challenge because I don't know if it would. I think there is a PC version, but I don't know what the requirements for it would be.
Might be easier in the short.
Well, yeah, maybe. It's a 5v5, so it's always 5v5. So Zach and I couldn't do it as a twosome. We'd always have to join a crew. But I don't know. It's fun. It's pretty mindless, is what I would say. I don't necessarily think you need pro teamwork to really pull things off, but And that's probably why I like it. It's just
yeah, sure. Is it more fun to play with randos in games like that than ones that require?
Oh yeah, if it required actual strategy, then this probably falls apart completely. Yes, that's Exoprimal. I like it quite a bit. It's got the draw for me right now. What else have I been doing? I randomly, again, similar situation. It was late at night. Gnome was trying to put Bubba to sleep, and I thought, I'll just play a quick little something. So I started playing Vampire Survivors again and got myself a little bit hooked on it. I don't know if I've got much more to add to it other than like it's weird and gets more weird than you think. The more you put into it, the stranger it gets, and the more it just keeps going. It just keeps going. That game is actually pretty enormous in its simplicity. Like it's like there's loads of stuff, and this is even before you buy the expansions. Like it's I don't know. It again, mindless late night thing to do. It's a good one of those. I'm kind of looking forward to that. See if that Deep Rock game can pull that same feeling off, because Deep Rock are doing a survivors game. Like,
I wouldn't have thought so. I bet it'll be. I bet it'll be much simplified.
Yeah, I don't think I think it's a challenge to be weird and as weird as Vampire Survivors. Right? Yeah, it's especially if you're theming it around an existing property.
It's just like all the times people tried to make a version of Binding of Isaac. It's just like you can't do that. You can't do that as dramatically as that one did.
I guess, yeah. I don't know, Gungeon, right?
Yeah, but that's not really the same.
Pretty same. Similar. It's not quite as wild as Isaac.
Yeah.
So that's probably all I'll really talk about that. Outside of that, my two left field, I suppose, additions to the gaming lineup. I finally acquired a copy of Power Stone.
Sorry, Power Stone.
Power Stone for the Dreamcast.
Power Stone.
I've been trying to, because I don't know, that every now and then that game comes up in conversation.
Never heard of it.
People
what the heck is Power Stone?
So it's a 3D fighter developed by Capcom. I think it only ever came to Dreamcast. Oh no, that's a lie. There was a PSP collection version of it and Power Stone 2. But yeah, it's a 3-dimensional sort of one-on-one. Well, the first game at least is a one-on-one fighter, but it's not like Tekken. When I say fighter, it's more like you're given this like square arena, and you can move freely within it. But each player still has a life bar, and you're still trying to reduce the other player's life bar like it would be a fighting game. It's just presented in a very different way. And I don't know. Every now and then, it's one of those games that comes up that I hear about every now and then. People looking back like really fondly on it. I don't have a fond memory of it, because basically what happened was like I've played it once before, and I was sold on the concept of it being a bit like Smash Brothers. And someone was like, "Oh, you like Smash Brothers? Oh, you'll love this. This is great. Come play this." And it's like, it is not like Smash Brothers, and I did not love it at the time. So with like 30 years of time passing, a bit of me was like, okay, maybe not 30 years, probably more like 20 and a bit. A bit of me was like, maybe I should give this another shot. Maybe I went into it with the wrong frame of mind, my younger self, and didn't like it because it wasn't what I was sold on. I'm mixed on it, if I'm honest. Like, the idea is interesting. I'm just not 100% sure. This is Power Stone 1, I should point out, not Power Stone 2, which did add 4-player madness and probably like actually refined the concept a bit more. But like, it's just a bit weird. Like, I don't know if it feels right. The 3-dimensionality is actually a problem more than it is a benefit, because it's hard to get the spatial awareness quite right because there's an emphasis on not like just running up to your opponent and smacking them in the face. That's not actually a great tactic in this. Like, it's better to actually perhaps at times be ranged and pick up bits in the environment and throw them at them, or jump on a bit of scenery so you then have a height advantage and slam down on top of them to do damage instead. It's more about that than just being a straight up fighter.
Like a wrestling game.
Kinda, yeah. Just not as wrestly. there's like the moveset is really simple. You basically only have punch, kick, and grab, and there's like not many variants on it. It's not like a Street Fighter sized move list or anything like that. It's pretty simplistic. The game's main thing is this like the idea of the Power Stones, of which on the default settings there's a yellow one, a blue one, and a red one, and if but there's only one of each at any one time in the match, and you have to literally just run up to them and collect them, and it'll go yes and add it to a bar on the bottom of your screen. And basically the key to winning is making sure you get all of them, because then you transform into this super powered version of yourself that gets a different move set and is almost unstoppable because that move set is gnarly. So what you're trying to do is get the Power Stones before your opponent, but if your opponent has Power Stones already, is to kick them out of them and then go get them so you can transform into this other form and then do hella damage. So I guess that's what makes it not just a fighting game, right? It's a little bit of strategy to it, but I don't know. I find it very difficult. I've only it takes about an hour. It took me an hour to get through an arcade mode playthrough. Not very well with one of the characters, and it unlocked a couple of things. So it's like I guess it wants me to just keep doing that, but get better at doing that in order to unlock more stuff. I'm slowly learning it, but it's tough. I also think it's one of those games where it's like the AI seems at times to be a bit cheaty and a bit not human, and its aim throwing stuff across the environment seems far too good at times, or its timing pulling off certain maneuvers is crazy good despite being like set on a reasonably easy difficulty setting, or there are definitely certain AI characters that wildly outperform the others. It's like coming across Soul Calibur 4, right? If you came across Star Killer, the Force Awakens, not Force Awakens. What is it?
Oh yeah, the Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed guy, yeah, that just happened to be in Soul Calibur 4 for some reason. It's like whenever you came across him, you're in trouble because the AI was way too good with him. It's like that if you come across Falcon, for me, like who's like the Ryu of this game. He's like, but the AI is obscenely good with him compared to everyone else. I guess they trained it on it. Or I don't know, trained it, but I guess that was the test subject for most of it. I don't know. So it's all right. It's all right. I'm not sure it really necessarily deserves the nostalgia that people have for it, but I guess it's still fairly original. I guess there's not a lot I would say is like it, so maybe that's the reason.
Just because it's different.
Yeah, I'm still intrigued by Power Stone 2 as a result, but that is a much more expensive game to get hold of these days, just through rarity, and it's But I would like to see how they refined the formula, because like I can see something there. I'm just not entirely sure they nailed it. It's like it feels a little bit rough and ready, but but there are elements of Capcom polish around it. Also, the voiceovers are great though. Like they're awful, but it's like the good bad kind of stuff. It's like it's clearly a Japanese person reading like in English, so all of the pronunciation is wrong, and like the intro sequence has the most bored sounding guy ever going, adventure, it's the 19th century and adventurers believe in superstition and they want to try and get hold of these things, these mythical objects called the Power Stone. Yeah, it's like that. It's like there's no real enthusiasm to it. It's weird, but if you want a marquee fighting game, Soul Calibur for Dreamcast, this is not. But like it's unique, and I think as I say, it was only really released on Dreamcast until they did that PSP collection version, and it's been nowhere else. So anyway, I played a bit of that. I'll play a bit more of it at some point. What else did I do? I got my Sinden back out. And I played through Vampire... Well, I didn't finish it, but I played through most of Vampire Knight. So Vampires 2 games of vampires in it.
Vampire Knight?
Yeah, I know. It's almost like
it's night with a K or with an N.
This one's with an N. It's almost like it's Halloween or something. I don't know.
Spooky night.
This is a Sega developed shooter that I'd seen in arcades before, but I don't think I'd ever played. It's basically House of the Dead, just with vampires.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just like you might as well be describing any gun game. It's basically House of the Dead, but with something.
Basically House of the Dead. I mean, okay, in the subgenre of light gun games, this plays exactly like House of the Dead does.
Yes.
Like there's that specific feel of game that Sega put together, and it's compared to Namco shooters, for instance, and it's one of those.
Does that make sense thematically, though, to be blasting hundreds of vampires in the same way as it does zombies?
What, with guns? I mean, they do kind of call that out at a part in the story. It's like, you can't defeat us with guns, and they're like, yes, we can.
I'm not going to explain that anymore. It doesn't fire wood bullets or something.
Yeah, to put fucking silver in all those bullets would be very expensive.
That's werewolves, that's not vampires.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Well, wood.
The wood bullets that you have to shoot them in the heart. I mean, it's slightly different from House of the Dead in that they point out where the weak points of everything is. There's this like blue mark on every enemy to show you where you can hit it to like almost insta kill everything. And I would say it's less intense than House of the Dead. I feel like it's a little bit more leisurely paced, if that makes sense, than House of the Dead is. This was the first time I'd ever played it, and I pretty much got to the last boss. As far as I'm aware, so it's a bit easier than House of the Dead as well. I'm to be specific, I'm playing the PlayStation 2 version emulated because, as it turns out, PCSX2, the emulator, has had some improvements to input latency, which was my biggest problem with it. So the game feels fine to play with the gun now visually. The audio still lags a bit, so it's what you're seeing on the screen isn't quite tied up with the audio. Which is a little bit of a shame, but when you pull the trigger, I can see it happen just after I pull the trigger, and then I can hear it happen a little bit later than that. But it's improved from where it was, start of this year when I first started toying with this stuff. So good on PCSX2. It definitely feels better now to play stuff for review. But yeah, that's a pretty good light gun game, is what I was saying. So it's like if you're into House of the Dead and you want something of that flavor, but maybe not as inventive or as generally cool and stupid. And I mean, it's still got some bad voiceover, but it's not House of the Dead too bad.
Well, House of the Dead, everyone knows. Like this, it's so well known, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Vampire Night was a one-off. I don't think it got a sequel or anything like that. Yeah. But it plays well. I mean, it's still got some awful writing in places. Like there's a bit towards the end where there's been like this child girl following you for for some reason, just following you whilst you go on this super dangerous vampire. I guess because her village has all been like semi-destroyed or turned to vampires or something. So she just follows you, and at the end, like you're just about to walk through the doors into the last boss arena, and you sort of turn to her and go like, "You can't follow us in here, else you might die." And then the other guy just turns to her and goes, "You mustn't die."
You mustn't die.
And then the first guy's like, "Go, live your life." In this like weird grand gesture. And then she's after following you the entire time, she just goes, "All right then," and runs off.
I'm convinced. But what am I doing here? What was I thinking?
After she's like tried to stop you from like killing people. Like to a certain extent, it's like, no, she's not. She like, why does she have to die? She's not bad. She's just like, no, she's a vampire. She's bad. She's clearly bad. It's weird. Like the writing's awful, but like, yeah, go come for the shooting. You won't be disappointed. It's fine. It has got some super hard training exercises though. I don't know why. Like all of Sega's like gun games have like crazy hard training exercises on the home console versions. It's so difficult. I don't know why they're so difficult. That's that. That's what I've been doing. That's me.
That's Rob. Forza, Exoprimal, Vampire Survivors, Vampire Night, Power Stone. Oh my god!
Don't sleep on Exoprimal. It's on Game Pass. Go for it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's Zachary Burgess.
Well, I've only been playing one thing this entire 2 weeks, but that means there was a lot of it.
A lot of one.
Can you say have you got a new PC incoming potentially? Is that going to improve your
yes, in theory?
To,
I mean, as we've said several times over the course of this year, I'm running out of time. Like, I legitimately have to get a PC before the end of the year because the Steam's just going to not work.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because you're still on 7, right? And they're dropping support for 7.
So I literally have a countdown that's been on the top of the Steam bar. But
can you not upgrade Windows because you need that stupid hardware security module thing on your motherboard?
And I just would it'd be a real pain in the ass.
Yeah.
My hard disks are so full, I'm not sure you'd even be able to get it to do it.
Right. If you did a cleanup job, you could probably go to 10 still today and be fine.
Because you won't get a free upgrade these days.
No. I think they are still offering. There are ways to still get an upgrade all the way to 11, though. Even if you're running 7, I think there are ways to go all the way.
But I already said we don't want to do that on this PC at all.
No, you won't be able to. Not with 11. I can't go to 11 on this PC, so this is a little bit newer than yours, right? So it's.
But yeah, that rapidly running out of time. But now I might finally actually do it this week, maybe. But that countdown, I've been seeing that countdown since the number was 250 days left, and now it's 50 days left. Jeez, so procrastination is a thing that happens.
That's crept up.
But it's an important decision. It's a very expensive piece of hardware.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
And the later you leave it, the probably the better for future-proofing it, potentially.
Arguably. It was more about
graphics card prices.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that was the whole reason I hadn't done it for the past 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's probably worked out for you okay in this instance, because they are coming down a bit of late.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it was.
No. I mean, we had to get past the whole 2020 period, basically. And once we'd entered that part of the graphics card price history, it was we have to wait at least a couple of years to get through that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still bad, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's not as bad as it was.
So what I've been mainly playing is in both single player and multiplayer. Kind of intentionally this normally when we play stuff multiplayer I end up playing it single player just because I want to play more of it. But in this case there was also a secondary reason, which is that basically mods. We're playing modded in multiplayer, even though this is a game that I've never played before. So I was I'll play single player as well in vanilla to actually compare it, to actually know what this game is really like. But it's basically it's a game called Vintage Story, which is basically
Vintage
Story.
Okay, Vintage Story.
It's basically a Minecraft mod, but now it's its own game.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically a lot like Minecraft, except a more modern version of Minecraft, I suppose. It does some things that are actually it does a lot of things that are like mods of Minecraft, obviously, because it is one. But I think it also maybe takes ideas from other mods of Minecraft that it wasn't, and then takes those ideas as well. But yes, it's basically it's a survival game, I guess. You've got to scavenge the food and the resources at the start, and then you build a house, and then you build farms, and then you gradually work your way up the metal tech tree to get more advanced.
So it's Valheim.
Yeah, pretty much. That too. But yeah, I think the main thing that makes it cool, it's one main feature that is kind of advanced, I guess, from Minecraft-esque game, which is also technically borrowed from another Minecraft mod, is it uses. So in Minecraft, there's a mod called Chisels and Bits, which basically lets you well, they didn't want to say voxels, I guess, because that's what it is. You're taking, instead of one big block, you're carving out individual mini blocks out of it, and then you can use that to carve complex shapes or build up a complex shape using the bits that you've carved out of another block.
But why though?
So you make decorations, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, in Minecraft, yes, it is just decorative. In this game, they've taken that idea and sort of extended it into mechanics. So when you're when you get to making clay pots, you're actually like building the shape of the pots out of the mini voxels using the clay. So it sort of blueprints it for you, and then you just have to fill that in, which, in some ways it's kind of tedious, but, that's kind of the point of this kind of survival game, is like, it has to make you spend time doing things to inconvenience you in some way. But yes, so it uses that idea of like placing the mini blocks. It does also have the chisel feature of just like making things look nice once you eventually get to having a chisel, once you develop metal, I guess. But then, so in clay, you have like building the mini voxels into the clay shapes. And then when you get to metal smithing, it's like you start with the bar of metal and you have to like mush the voxels out into the shape of the thing you're trying to make.
Right, nice.
So it's like, that's kind of the one big trick, I suppose, which is kind of a cool idea.
That is pretty cool.
And then it does have some other kind of cool ideas for the survival concept of like, when you're doing food preservation, because that's a big thing, obviously, because winter is coming. You got to get all your food in, you got to get your winter supplies ready. But it has like the concept of cellars. So if you make an underground enclosed space, then that reduces food decay. And then there's certain different, like, you can have big jars that reduce the decay even more, or specific shelves. And then you can, like, if you cook a meal and then put it into this one specific kind of container, you could, like, seal that container with wax, which makes it last even longer. So you've got this, like, sort of preparation aspect of, like, you actually do have to plan ahead for the winter and try and stockpile enough food, especially if you're then, like, feeding a bunch of animals or whatever as well. Because you can feed them with hay, but they eat that real quick. And then in the winter, you can't get that any longer.
Right. Yeah.
So then at this point, we're feeding our pigs a bunch of turnips because we grew so many turnips. Just because turnips are real easy to grow. But yeah, so we've sort of reached the middle of the metal age now, I guess. The one thing that I do find its balance being a bit weird is that, like, you die real quick to like wolves and bears, not even to the actual enemies, which, it's sort of in Minecraft, like, so it's not as much as Minecraft, but the enemies come out at night, but they do.
Right.
But then also underground is where you're mainly going to find the actual enemies. But you just die super easily, and it feels like it takes too long to get into armor.
Oh, right, I think before you
can actually do anything combat-wise, basically. You just have to run away for far too long, I feel like.
Or just hide at night.
Yeah, just close the doors and sit down. Well, I mean, you can sleep the night away, sort of like Minecraft, although it's actually slightly more restrictive than Minecraft, because it's like, it'll only allow you to sleep for like 7 hours. So that's not necessarily the whole length of the night in terms of when enemies can spawn, so sometimes you do have to just stand around inside.
Right.
But yeah, it feels like and it also has a slight problem with even the armor you can, like, so right at the start of the game, you can get armor, the improvised armor that's basically just wood and sticks. Well, wood and grass and sticks, I guess, and a knife. You need a knife to craft it, but that's flint and a stick. But so you have that, but it doesn't really actually help, because the way the damage system works, it has what is basically the Dwarf Fortress damage system, where attacks randomly target a part of your body, except in this case it's only like head, legs, or torso. But the improvised armor only covers your torso. So if you're unlucky with where it chooses to land the attacks, you might as well not be wearing armor, because you're still taking full damage.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really actually help to wear the improvised armor most of the time. 50% of the time, you're still going to take full damage regardless.
Right, yeah.
It's only until you actually get to the actual armor where you can cover all 3 parts, and it's like, now you actually maybe can survive. But we still haven't got to that, really. I feel like the other problem with that is what even the lowest tier of actual armor is sort of too difficult to make compared to, like, the big problem we've had is like resin, like pine resin from trees. Though the specific pine trees that spawn the block where you can get the resin out, those seem far too uncommon.
Ah, right.
Like, if those had just been a bit more common, we probably would have made the basic armor. So it's those sort of balance problems that you get in these kind of games.
Right, yeah.
Where it's just like, the world gen is nice, and it's actually I actually kind of like the way it does its world gen. I'd say it's like a better. I mean, obviously it's just a noise model or whatever, but I would say it looks better than Minecraft's one for sure.
So is this, what state is the game in? This must be quite early access.
Yes, it is still early access, and as far as I know, it's been early access for a long time, like several years or whatever. But as indie games tend to do.
Yeah, sure.
Also, this is not on Steam; it's a fully independent thing. Just buy it from their website.
Interesting.
I mean, you can get it on a Humble Bundle, I guess, but that's not the same as being on Steam, I guess. But yes, it is. One thing it does share with Minecraft, though, is it completely eats your RAM.
Oh.
Even when someone's made a new engine and made a better version of Minecraft, they still can't get away from that problem.
Yeah.
It just destroys your RAM very quickly.
I wonder if I might have finally found a use for my excess RAM. Then.
Yeah, exactly.
How much have you got? 32?
32, yeah, which is always,
nice.
which is probably fine for a modern machine, but like up till today, I've never found anything that really taxes the RAM on this machine.
Yeah.
So it's.
I've got 32 gigs in my laptop, and I'm not sure I need that.
No,
I've never used that.
Programs seem
Maybe
to
at some point.
Like I haven't found like a program. Like I thought, like video editing at least would utilize the RAM weight, more, but it doesn't. No. Like DaVinci Resolve prefers to make many tiny little proxy files.
Yeah.
In its video cache, rather than stash them all in RAM.
What about when you're recording with OBS or whatever?
Well, it doesn't really use RAM. It's sort of just really. No. It just
writes it straight to the
buffers a little bit, fires it at NVENC, and then it's done with it. Right? There isn't much it actually has to hold on to.
No, I suppose not.
So the other thing about Vintage Story, the reason I was playing in single player vanilla to see what the balance was like there, is that's sort of another one of its slightly weird balance problems, is that in vanilla, the world feels kind of sparse. Like there just isn't enough different stuff in it. And the stuff that is there kind of feels a bit too spread out. Like it's quite difficult to find ore veins once you get to mining, which kind of feels intentional. Like it is meant to be slightly difficult, but maybe it's like the pine trees. Maybe it's slightly too difficult.
Right, yeah.
But then in the modern version where we've put in a bunch of extra stuff, like extra trees and extra animals and all that, that makes it feel better, but it also makes it too easy. Where it's like now there's stuff everywhere.
Yeah, so somewhere in between the two is the sweet spot.
Yeah, it seems like it. Oh, and the one other thing that this game does that is kind of cool, but seems kind of just an inconvenience most of the time, is that it has what I would compare to like Don't Starve's sanity meter, where like in this game it's called like temporal stability, where there can be like rifts on the surface, which is what the enemies spawn out of at night, and if you walk too near them, then your temporal stability starts going down. But it also goes down if you spend too long underground, so it like kind of limits how long you can spend in the caves and mining. But the actual effect of the temporal stability is where it's kind of cool, because it's using some of the later versions of Minecraft started doing this, but it's using shader tricks to actually distort the geometry on screen.
Oh, neat.
So once your temporal stability starts going down, like the whole world just starts warping. That's
cool.
Which is actually a really cool effect. And apparently I haven't been underground long enough to see how much worse it gets, but the person I was playing with was talking about it. But apparently it also starts just doing weird shit to the actual world. Like she was saying like, oh, that tree just got closer to me. Which I'm not sure how that could still be a shader effect, I guess, but I don't know whether that was like...
Oh, no, I hope it's not. I hope it is just
moving the whole block.
Yeah, and like you're literally causing like a bit like Exoprimal, you're causing space-time distortions and stuff's going weird and out of place and where it shouldn't be.
I mean, the most weird thing that I saw when I did stand next to a rift...
And then Slender Man turns up.
Yeah, probably. The weirdest thing I saw when you stand next to a rift for too long is, like, the sky, like, the clouds disappear and you see, like, giant cogwheels. And I'm like, what is going on here?
What? Oh, that sounds wicked.
But yes, but the trouble with that is like it's a cool effect, and like obviously it has some gameplay implications. But one of the things it does is that it has like temporal storms that come in occasionally, And especially when you don't have proper armor.
You mean Timefall?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, especially when you don't have proper armor, that's another case of you just have to sit in a room until it goes away. It's like you can't do anything about that. There's enemies everywhere, and they're much more powerful than even the regular enemies. So you just have to shut the door and just sit there for the night.
It's like, oh, this is a bad time.
While watching everything distort around you, because the effect is still happening, but like...
Oh, but it's happening outside your house.
It's happening everywhere, so like all the enemies are just spawning around, and they're far too powerful for you to fight. And I'm not sure you'd even want to, because like I don't see what the point of that is yet. Like, why would you even bother to go outside during this time?
Right. Yeah, is there something you can acquire?
Yeah, is there some reason to brave that and like
some resource,
kill the enemies and get something from them, maybe? But as I say, we still haven't really got to the point of having proper armor enough to be able to do that. We just die.
Is there much of a penalty for death, or can you just
not
go
really
back to a previous state?
There's really two things. The first one is that unlike Minecraft, sleeping in a bed doesn't set your spawn point. You have to find a specific thing, the temporal gear, and then if you use the temporal gear, it basically sets your spawn point for the next 20 deaths. And then obviously if that runs out, it goes back to default spawn. So depending on where you've built your house or whatever, that could be super inconvenient.
Right, yeah.
You want to make sure you've set your spawn point. And then the other thing is if you die, you basically lose like half your nutrition stats, because this game uses the like nutrition of like meat and vegetables and all that. You have to eat a balanced diet in order to... It basically gives you a health bonus the more of the different food groups you filled up or whatever. Okay. So when you die, you just lose half of your nutrition bars, basically, so your health goes down. But yeah. It does encourage. That's why the food preparation is also like slightly more advanced, because you have to prepare, because fruit doesn't last. So you're like, what can we do with this fruit to preserve it for longer into the winter?
I guess it encourages you to not just find the most easily farmable material, and because you need it all.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. I like that.
Yes, but
I mean, as much as I like survival games, but I like that. Like,
but yeah, I mean. It does. It's a good idea, but again, it's one of those situations where it's like, even though they've tried to make it slightly more complicated, at a certain point, it's still not as complicated as you feel like it could be. Like you can make a pie where it's like the crust counts for your grain nutrition because it's made of grains or flour, I guess, and then the inside can be like meat or vegetable or fruit. And then you make a pie and it's like, okay, that's great. And the pies last a bit longer when you're storing them in the cellar than the base ingredients would. But I feel like they're kind of missing like a second step to recipes. Because it's like, you take raw ingredients, you cook them into a thing. But I feel like there should be like maybe a next step where it's like, maybe you can
take your pie and make something out of pie.
Yeah, make a more advanced pie or something. Make a second tier of pie.
Right, but you don't do that by taking an existing pie and building upon it.
Well, no, not in real life. In video games,
you don't pie upgrade. You don't like make a pie and then go, you know what, the crust on that is the best crust I've ever made. I'm just going to scoop out all the inside of this pie and upgrade its innards.
Well, I was thinking more of like, you can make one of the meals you can cook in the cooking pot, which is sort of the first way you cook. They have specific. It uses a 4-slot system where, depending on what you put in the 4 slots, changes the outcome. Changes the meal it makes, but it has like limits on what you put in there. So when you have like meat stew, it's like the first 2 slots have to be meat, then you can have a vegetable, then you can have something else, sometimes a fruit or like an egg or whatever.
Right.
And so there's certain limits to what you can put in there. But I feel like when you're making a meat stew, you should be able to like take the meat stew and then put that in a pie, right? Like that should be a pie filling.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right. Yeah. Yeah,
the stews, I suppose. Are they too wet for pie?
Yeah, I mean, in real life, yes, probably. But in the game, I could see it working like that.
I suppose if you then boiled down the stew so it's thickened and then...
And I mean, it makes more sense when, like, one of the things you can do in the cooking pot is make jam, where it's like you're taking fruit and honey, which currently, obviously, the use for that is it preserves the fruit for the winter. Like, it makes it last practically infinitely. But why can you not take jam and put that in a pie?
Pies aren't generally entirely jam. That would be way too much, but
Also, weirdly, the pie filling is like limited to one food group. Like you can't mix meat and vegetables into one pie.
Oh, see, what about ale? Like, so can you make a steak and ale pie?
I don't think you can put liquids in pies.
Right.
Actual physical liquids. But yeah,
so no chicken and mushroom pie.
No, specifically, it's a chicken or mushroom pie.
I like a chicken and mushroom pie. I thought of one circumstance where perhaps,
you would upgrade a pie.
Perhaps I do upgrade a pie, and that's when I take a pork pie and I put it in a sandwich.
Okay, yes, you're using a pie as the ingredient there.
Yeah, exactly.
Cutting up
Cut up bits of pork pie and put it in a sandwich. Yeah,
it's kind of the opposite of what you do in this game. That's like you're putting the pie into more bread instead of taking the bread and making a pie out of it.
Yeah, am I arguably downgrading the pie by?
Well,
am I diluting pie?
I mean, in this game's logic, that would only increase the nutritional value because you're getting another layer of grain.
Yeah, I'm still adding stuff to it, but yeah.
So yeah, it's a kind of cool little game.
Some neat ideas.
It does feel like I said, it feels like it needs the base game needs some updates to bring it closer to the mods, but not too far. The mods maybe go too far, but the base game is reasonable.
Do they have like INI files or something you can go and modify to like downgrade their effect or something? Or
I mean, I don't know what the actual structure of the modding is. I think it's actually relatively simple. Like, you know, one of those. I think it's probably JSONs or whatever.
Yeah. So if it was like mildly tunable, you could probably find that sweet spot yourself.
Yeah, probably.
But ultimately, that shouldn't be your job.
No,
they should get that right with the game.
Yeah, that's what we've been playing for basically the whole of the last 2 weeks.
Vintage story. Is there a lot of sepia? And like how vintage is
well,
it?
the temporal stability does kind of make things a bit more brown as it goes down.
So the temporal instability is the next gen filter.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Just what's missing from that Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, not enough brown in Snake Eater.
No, play some more Vintage Story instead.
Get your brand.
Yes, and that's been pretty much that. I played some Rocket League, I guess. Still.
Some.
Yep. I maybe finally got back out of Lemon Town after all this time. Not that I've been playing it much, but I guess I had a good streak of teammates, and it was like, oh, I'm back up into champion. And then, and then it was like, well, that's. I mean, realistically, I think I've said this before, that like at this point in Rocket League, realistically, champion and diamond might as well be the same. It doesn't really change much until high champion when you're going into whatever the top tier is. I've already forgotten. Grand champion or whatever it's called.
Yeah, something like that. Grandmaster.
Grandmaster.
Does it have a point where it starts numbering, like rank numbering? Like I think the high levels of Halo used to do that. You'd reach a certain.
I don't remember whether I think they've changed it several times because it's Grand Champion and then it's like Superstar, and I think there's like 3 tiers of Superstar. Yeah, but I don't think it's like the 3 tiers of all the other ranks.
I see. Yeah, because I think it was like I want to say it was Halo, like maybe not currently, but one of the previous ones where if you hit a certain rank point, it would literally like there's like this is the highest rank. But we've put like 1,000 odd tiers within it, so it's like so if you're like you could be in the top tier, but you're really trying to get to that number 1 spot, if you really want to be top rank,
yes,
like, you're in like super pro level there.
Because I think I believe they do that in like Hearthstone. Once you reach the highest tier of that, it just gives you a straight number.
It starts ranking you.
Where it's like you are literally the 1,000th best person.
Yeah, you are ranked now.
So yeah, that's that.
Cool.
Cool. I think that's just about on time for the end of a podcast.
More or less.
About a podcast. Thank you for listening to all the stuff that we've been playing and the meager amount of news that we also had. We have a YouTube channel if you prefer like a video style of content, or not prefer, but like it as an additional a compliment, you might say.
Because if you've got to this end of this podcast and you don't prefer podcasts, what are you doing?
Yeah,
you can still have listened to it and not prefer a podcast.
Yeah,
it can just be part of your repertoire.
Yeah. So if you like video content, we have that on our YouTube channel, Happy Salad. We've just finished our, well, where are we? We got an update because we finished our Let's Play of Beyond Good and Evil.
We finished Beyond Good and Evil, yeah.
What's have we got an in-betweeny to tide us over?
There is an in-betweeny.
Coming up soon.
Yeah, coming next week. It's mostly already done. The work's already done. I just need to finalize a few things. But so yeah, that'll be on time. Zach and I played some Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed.
Oh, classic. Okay,
I had a lot of fun. I don't know if Zach had a lot of fun, but I had a lot of fun.
I had an average amount of fun.
Well, that's something to look forward to anyway. So check out the average amount of fun that Zach had in Sonic All Stars Racing. Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing Transformed?
No. It's not quite right. The first game is Sonic and Sega All Stars Racing. The second game is just Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed. They took the Sega part out.
Sonic and All Stars. Okay.
Yeah. It's. I don't know why they took the Sega out.
Transformed. Okay.
It's like they added transformed, but they had to lose another word somewhere.
They were using too many levels.
Yeah, there's some kind of word limit.
Yeah, so check out Not Mario Kart in a week's time on YouTube, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another one of these here Saladcasts. Catch you then. Bye.